Good evening and welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss 5 of the week's most fucked up topics for 8 minutes each. 5 topics, 8 minutes, 2 hosts, 1 guest, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary.
Cheers.
Cheers, Nadine Smith, our guest co-host tonight.
Yeah.
Also host of NPR's Wide Awake America, civil rights activist, journalist, the wonderful, fabulous Nadine. So thank you so much for standing in for Greg Oliar, who is on a trip. But I wanted you anyway. So I really appreciate you being here with us this Friday evening. How was your week? How was your week?
Well, how was anybody's week? This has been quite a week. And I'll tell you how my week is. I created this little graphic called Gird Your Loins because I wondered where the expression came from.
Yeah.
When I read about it, it was people, it's from the Bible, and wearing togas, you would gather the fabric up and then wrap it around like a diaper so that you could go into battle. So the order to gird your loins was really in order to get ready. And so I created this little graphic, and I think maybe the most viral thing I've ever put on the internet.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to see it, Nadine. I don't know how I missed your gird your loins graphic.
I say it because I think that's how everybody's feeling about, the new year, heading into a new administration. That's sort of the shout, gird your loins.
Yeah.
So it sounds a little naughty too. So I think that's part of it.
What's that? There's a comedy or some kind of movie where it's gird your loins. What
Devil
is that?
Wears Prada. Stanley Tucci's character.
That's it.
Yes.
That's it. Stanley Tucci.
Stanley Tucci.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. My week was awful, but not as terrible as all of my friends in Los Angeles that are still there. As you know, and most of the folks watching know, I was, in Los Angeles for nearly 30 years, and everywhere I lived, it's burned to the ground. It's hard. So our first home that we had, that we sort of, it's really a thing in Los Angeles when you're young and working hard and striving, and maybe even older, like to buy your first home. It's when I'm here. I think I had lived there, probably 5 years, 6 years, just working really hard. And then it got to a point where it's like, okay, and got married. And then a year into our marriage, it's like, okay, we can buy this townhome, this beautiful townhome in the Palisades, where we were living in a rental apartment. And everybody, just so you know, if you don't know Pacific Palisades, it's not all mansions, and it's a real village, real neighborhoods within that town. All people all different income levels, all different types of people, retirement communities, senior living facilities, a lot of teachers. Yeah. So I'm so sorry, everybody. I've been going to try to hold it together. I want to get to our first segment. It's just hard. All your memories, we had our baby there, and it's all gone. And as everybody knows, as everyone watched, and I know so many people have connections to that community, if not even lived in the community, and also Malibu, where we lived, and Malibu's gone. And the one little place we went out of the thing was Hidden Hills. And then it was like, oh no, now that's burning. It was like, oh my God, it's all going to burn. It's all burning. So I want to separate. I want to just talk, because there's so much. If you guys don't mind, we'll just jump right into our topics. I want to get to our guest tonight. I want to be a good co-host for you, Nadine, and not just fall apart. So if you don't mind, I want to jump into this. And what I'd like to do with our first topic is talk a little bit about the Palisades, and then just start to separate some truth from fact, because we're in this really crazy time. I'm so glad you're co-hosting with me tonight. This is one of your areas of expertise, and of just, what is happening in the discourse, and especially as we careen into this next. I really feel like we're going into an era It's not just like a 4-year term, and then it's like we're entering a new era in a lot of ways. So I'm going to put the timer on the clock and try not to overstep the 8 minutes right off the clock. Okay, so first, I just want to tell everybody about Pacific Palisades in terms of so you can know in your head where it is. I know I was talking to Greg earlier. He's traveling, and he was like, I don't really know the area. What's happening? What's happening? Who's, we have dear friends together too, with people we know together, and he's got friends, and he's like, where is this burning? What's happening? So just to give everyone a locational sense of the Palisades where most of the horror happened. It is between Santa Monica and Malibu. It's right along the coast, but there's 3 roads from the coast. It's quite a big village. There's 3 roads that go up from the coast, or that meet the coast. One that goes all the way through the town and keeps going all the way through Los Angeles, and that's Sunset Boulevard. So Sunset Boulevard ends at the ocean at Pacific Palisades, and there's a big hill, big cliffs there along the ocean where Sunset is. And then the next street over is Temescal, and that's where that Palisades High School is. And the next street over is Chautauqua, that comes from PCH, the Pacific Coast Highway, that runs, all along there. And then it's Santa Monica. Okay. So Chautauqua, Temescal, and Sunset all go up to the Palisades. And why that's important to kind of understand is like you're going up a canyon. You're going up cliffs. There's not much built there. There's stuff kind of on the corners, and there's stuff that lines those streets. And there's, as I said, the high school sort of when Temescal meets Sunset, because Sunset comes and it crosses over, and those 2 streets intersect Sunset, right? And they kind of go up and trail up, and then the neighborhoods all start. There's the RV park. That's all gone. Everything is gone there. The bluffs, though, where it can't be developed is because there's little cliffs edge. It's not huge and tall, but it's enough for there to be a lot of vegetation. So that vegetation is always there. Whether or not it could or should have been cleared is a whole other conversation. Just know that this is a very lush area of Los Angeles. So it's a very old village. So it's old like Brentwood is and Bel Air is. So the palm trees are enormous, and the yards have been there forever, and the canyon trails. Temescal keeps going, and then you're in a nature trail and a canyon trail, and that's where Nature Park is. So there's wildlife there, right? There's a lot there that depends on that vegetation, and people love the beauty of it. They loved the beauty of it. It's a very beautiful town. And then as you get into the middle of the town, there's a village, and it used to just be mom and pop shops and neighborhood shops. And then this man named Rick Caruso, who's a big mall developer and a billionaire, developed a mall there. We fought that when I was in the Palisades. We fought. I was one of the residents who was like, I don't want a mall. I don't want the Rick Caruso put this bullshit here. But enough people wanted it. He was able to get in there, and then we moved. And as they were building it, because they were kind of tearing stuff down, and it was beautiful. It was done in a beautiful way. Okay. So now let's get to the night or the day of the fire. 100-mile-an-hour winds, anything between 80, over 60 miles an hour, but you get over 80. The reason that my husband and my family and I live in New York now, there's several sub reasons. We knew we wanted to move east eventually and be closer to our families and all of that. But when the Woolsey fire broke out in 2018, we ran for our lives, and it was that level of winds. And by the time, and it goes so fast. I don't know how to explain to people how fast it goes in those winds in that terrain. It's literally, you're looking this way. Oh my God, there's a fire. You can see a fire break out. And by the time you look this way, it is over your house. And it's a tornado, a fire. And so we fled it with our child and our dogs and as many belongings as we could pack. And you're always ready to go in those winds when the Santa Anas are up. If you're hardcore California, you've been dealing with it a lot, which almost everybody has. You've got everything stacked by the door all the time, ready to go, right? Because you have to go that fast. You just have to go that fast. A lot of people turn their hoses on and turn the water on in their house. They leave the water running. That's important to understand. That's also a habit when you're running, or something you're trained to do or told to do by your neighbors who have somehow survived. We did not think we would have a house to come back to. We did, but we knew then, we're like, we have to get out of here. I cannot do that again. I can't drive my child through a fire tornado, a wall of fire ever again. Right. And we knew it was coming again. The other thing I want to tell you about that time, because it's important about the facts right now, is that we couldn't get fire insurance after that. Nobody could get fire insurance after that in our areas, right? For that Woolsey fire, which was all of that northern Malibu up over across and then kind of down into Agoura. You lost it. That was it. And so the whole thing about fire insurance being pulled, and this is part of conspiracy, and no, since the Woolsey fire, when these big fires have come up, and there was one just a few months ago, people lose the insurance companies say, that's it, we're not going to cover you. And so that's what happened to the fire insurance. That's why people don't have fire insurance, is because of that huge fire in 2018 and the subsequent fires from then until now. Okay. It's just what the insurance company does. All right. Okay. So in that mall, that center, Rick Caruso, who was the first one that went on air and on social media and everywhere he could with his he ran for mayor and lost to Karen Bass and started blasting Karen Bass and saying it was mismanagement. The other thing you need to know about this man is he sat on the water board in order to do that development. Okay. So he knows exactly what the water table is. He knows where all the water sources are. And he had a private fire brigade that just came out in the New York Times, I believe, this morning. He did an interview there and kind of let it slip, because people are a little careless right now and crazy, that yes, he had his own private fire brigade, which you can also hire in all these different areas where the money is. What's been happening is people have been, big developers like that or very wealthy homeowners have gotten together and they hire private fire resource, but they use public resources. They plug into those fire hydrants. So his mall is fine. And it's right in the center of town. Up above are what it's called the alphabet streets and around, okay? Because they're A, B, C, D, they're like that. That's all gone. On the other side of Sunset is more of the village, but didn't get developed into mall. That's all gone. On the other side of that and around all that, that's the top of the bluffs all the way to the end above. It's Huntington Palisades. That is gone. When you go to the east of his mall, the center of town, that becomes the Riviera Palisades. And Chautauqua comes up into that, and that's all the Amalfi and all those very fancy streets. Some of that still stands, some of it's gone. A lot of those people have great big estates and lots of water, and it looks like the fire brigade, private fire brigade, could possibly, there's reporting that they were also had some homes that they were protecting. And then if you go west, which takes you down to the coast, everything west of that, because that's where the fire started actually, is down by Sunset. Everything west of his mall, his little mall, it's only a few blocks, but I just want you to envision this. Everything west of it, everything north, south, east, and west is gone. And his is still there. And he's spewing disinformation and not telling anyone in the moment, I had the private fire people there pulling the water and spraying my mall. Okay.
Well, first
That's
of all,
my first fact. I really want to put that out there because this guy's going to try to get power again. He's probably going to start making people offers and trying to buy up more land there and take advantage of the situation. And I think it's very important for everyone to call this man out for who and what he is. You know, we don't have to fault him for having the resources that he had, but I think we can fault him for doing what he's doing now. Go ahead.
Disinformation. The disinformation. And I think that's a great segue to our second piece.
It is. I want to segue there. I want to get a couple other quick facts out, and then I want to segue right into that second piece. I'm going a little over, but everyone's watching the news. Let me do this for just a moment. There's a claim that he made that and helped to spread, and other people jumped on, including the incoming president, that $17 million was cut from the firefighter budget, that Karen Bass cut the firefighter budget. And and Gavin Newsom, and this is what they did. That is a lie. That's a lie. And these people know it. The last budget had a $17 million expense in it that was a one-time budget expense as part of the overall budget. Every year, the budget has increased and been added. So that's like a one-off 17 thing, line item that they found and they plucked out and they weaponized and threw out as disinformation. It's a lie. Karen Bass and everybody, all the other leadership, everyone has put $50 million more into the budget. So not only did they not take money out, that was a one-time expense for some materials from last year. They put $50 million in. The budget's being finalized. The contract's being done right now while this fire happened. But it's there. There's $50 million there. That's very important. More money in the fire budget next year. The fire chief was being called a DEI hire because it's a woman. This is a 24-year veteran in fire.
Madness.
Okay. A former fire inspector, former fire marshal, former captain chief, and deputy chief. Nobody is more qualified to be fire chief than this woman. Period. So more bullshit. Another big thing is everyone's calling it all arson. We don't know yet. There is an arsonist that was caught. We don't know what caused any of these fires. They'll find out. There's an arsonist that was caused in the West Hills fire that ended up in the valley in Calabasas, Hidden Hills. But they don't know if he was the arsonist for that fire. They just caught somebody that had a blowtorch and materials and was running around. So we'll find out who that was and what that was all about and why he was there. Did someone else? We don't know. Did it start naturally? We don't know. We don't know yet. That's important. And Biden at the news conference, last thing, it was sort of like his end of the meeting, Nadine, I think, and he was talking, I don't know if you saw this, but he said what happened was when the power company turned the power off, which is what happens when the winds get that high, they turned off the power to the pumps. So that's why they ran out of water, because the power was cut to the pumps. If that wasn't a gaffe or something, if that's real, it came out of the president's mouth, so I'm repeating it. If that's real, I can't even wrap my mind. So you have 100-mile-an-hour winds, a human error like that, hoarding of water, right? Instead of sharing of resources,
private individuals or
the privatization of catastrophe management, disaster management, and possibly arson. We don't know yet.
Yeah,
that's how you lose a village. So I'm so sad about it. I'm going to pull myself together. And Maria Shriver, who lives in the area, and there's people to look to trust that are posting for everyone to know where to send. If you want to send help or send resources, just know it's not going to a bunch of rich people in some mansion. It's not. It's going to teachers. It's going to first responders. It's going to kids who lost their school and everything, all of their things. It's going to help. It's going to help. So look for those trusted sources. Okay. And thank God we have some trusted sources, Nadine. So let's segue now, because I don't know what else to do around all this. I really want to hear what you have to say about what this era we're entering of. It's just, I guess it's garbage. I have it as metacrap down there.
Metacrap. Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to say it. And two quick things. First of all, thank you for being real. I mean, it is fine. You have lost so much of your memories, and you're talking to friends who have lost everything, and we're watching from a distance with great helplessness. And the thing that makes deep trauma, these terrible events, that much harder is now the era that we're in is one in which you can't trust the information that is showing up in your social media feed. You can't trust the information that is being piped into your anxiety in the midst of this, not just by a few trolls, but by the incoming president, by people with political agendas. And so, in this era where extreme fires, Santa Ana winds that are accelerated by climate change, the floods in North Carolina, at times when people need the best possible information to protect themselves, to protect their families, to protect their property, instead they're getting, these algorithmically detonated misinformation for political gain. There were people in North Carolina who refused help from FEMA because they were getting reports that if FEMA helped you, you would lose your property. And so this is a different era, and the need for fact checking and some kind of way of stopping the flooding of that information. It's not simply trolling, it is putting people's lives in danger. And just days before, in the midst of all of this, here you have Facebook announcing, Mark Zuckerberg announcing that they have overnight suspended any fact checking. No more fact checking, fired the third-party entities that they worked with, and to the degree that they maintain any kind of infrastructure that holds any responsibility for what gets spread on their platform, he announced they're moving them all to Texas because in Texas, they won't be constrained by the culture of who knows what.
He really said that? I've been not
absolutely said it.
He,
and
as
so
if the tech bro culture is constraining Mark Zuckerberg and his mission.
It is madness.
Oh my God.
I think it was last year, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg were challenging each other to an MMA fight, right? And they would give periodic updates. Oh, we got to postpone because I pulled my ankle, whatever. What is clear is that Elon Musk has put Mark Zuckerberg in a full submission hold. He has completely capitulated. Not only has he gutted fact checking, he is replicating the ridiculous community notes project that X relies on to have the community fact check, which of course, X has become this cesspool precisely because they let anything, not only do they encourage, it is the kind of clickbait. On top of that, they've announced that they are going to actively encourage content by AI generated personalities on Facebook in a manner that it seems pretty clear.
Okay.
We will not know whether we are dealing with a real person or an AI generated content provider.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted to stop there and ask you about that a little bit.
Okay.
So they're saying, are they going to create the personnel? Are the personalities, are the content, is it AI influencers that somebody's dreaming up and then letting loose? Or is the AI coming up with its own AI account?
I remember here's the thing that you have to understand. AI has accelerated to such a degree. There was a screen capture on X where an AI agent sought to hire someone to do work for it. And the responder to that request for help was another AI agent who completed the work. And then the original AI agent paid the AI agent responder using crypto. And if you were a casual observer just passing through,
wait a minute,
you would read the entire exchange and never know that there was no human being involved in the exchange.
Oh my
And so
God.
to take that level of sophistication and, casual, informal, it's not bleep, bloop, blurp. It's the casual, hey, thanks a lot, friend. And so it is a very dangerous time. And I remember when Barack Obama was leaving office and he was asked what he thought was the biggest challenge, the greatest threat. And without hesitation, he has said it's the quantum leaps that we are seeing in AI. And so one other aspect of what's happening with Meta and their complete capitulation, their complete folding of their fact-checking infrastructure is a story that when I first heard it, I thought, okay, this is people trolling him. Because as you know, the minute he announced it, people started posting increasingly hilarious and utterly
Yeah.
absurd takes, like
The memes
announcing his death and,
that he had a rat penis transplant.
well,
I
yeah,
thought
that
that was
one, for
terrible.
example. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That
And
one's
so,
evolving. Yeah. I've
um,
seen a couple versions.
so there's a bunch of them, and they're well worth looking up because people are very creative and very funny. But one of them that I thought initially was a joke was that part of the impetus, not only the total capitulation to Elon Musk, but part of the impetus was he had posted about knee surgery. And he felt as though there had not been enough sympathy or reposting of his knee surgery. And so he asked about it and came to the conclusion that fact checking on healthcare, post COVID, when all sorts of drink bleach, all of that madness was filling the interwebs. He came to the conclusion that fact checking healthcare had thwarted the response to his knee surgery. And that's the thread that he began to pull. And again, it sounds absolutely, outrageous. But yeah, there's plenty of evidence.
This is a mothering issue? He wasn't mothered enough? It's either a daddy issue or a mommy issue.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. You're seeing these personalities all merge together. Zuckerberg was quoted as saying something about if you criticize him for dismantling fact checking, then your problem is wokeness, your virtue signaling. So they're all talking from the same playbook. And somebody had sent me this article, and it was about how, Louis XIII, who had this medical condition. I'm going to give you the shortest version of this, had a medical condition that eventually required surgery on his posterior, painful brand new surgery to fix something called a fistula. And he had to walk around in a big diaper. Diapers are a theme tonight. Gird your loins.
Oh my God.
Louis the 13th is the diaper that he wore. But what happened, the fascinating piece of this is that the upper class began to wear a big diaper, shades of bandage on your ear, right?
Oh, the maxi pad on the ear.
But it gets crazier because he was the first person. They practiced this surgery on indigent people in the hospital, some who died.
Yes, they did.
And once they had gotten to the place where they were willing to do it on the king, and he survived it, right? But here's the thing. People began to request the surgery.
Oh.
Who did not need it because they wanted to mimic this. And we're seeing it in the cadence. We're seeing it in the outrageous language. We're seeing it in the move to Texas. The same kind of wanting to mimic, President Musk and assistant to the President Trump.
I guess I just didn't think Zuckerberg would tap out to Musk. We talked about this earlier, and I'm like, is it a tap out? Is he tapping out? He's got him in the MMA hold of like, you will be my sub. And I didn't have that about Zuckerberg. I really didn't.
Yeah, he's got a makeover. And I think part of that makeover,
he lost his mommy. He lost Sheryl Sandberg. And then he didn't get enough sympathy for his knee surgery. And we're all going to be punished for that. He's going to.
Yeah.
This is some sick shit. Excuse my language, but I cannot believe it's these men.
Yeah.
It's these babies.
This is the era.
This is the era. Oh God, Nadine. All right. Well, thank you for walking us through all of that. and I guess I want to ask you, just we're going a little over on this too, but we're going to get to our guest. I guess I want to ask you just real quick, and maybe we can talk about it with our guests as well. And I know that's impossible to predict, but what would be, is it the natural disasters and having this garbage out there? What do you see if you're going to see like one biggest scary thing to come out of having all of the discourse be completely fact-free?
Right.
Or if it's fact-free, but no priority of facts.
Sure.
As a journalism, as an activist, as somebody who's as a journalist, what Biden asked people, he asked journalists today, it's like, well, what do you think of it? Do you think the truth is important anymore? What do you think? But I just want to know, what's the scariest thing to you? Like, what's the scariest result of this?
I mean, the scariest thing to me, and I recently interviewed on Wide Awake America Dr. Emma Bryant, and she was a researcher who sort of uncovered what Cambridge Analytica was doing and how they were not. The dangerous thing about Cambridge Analytica was not simply that they took 87 million Facebook users and began to, corral us into this disinformation whirlwind. It was that they were zeroing in specifically on what is your anxiety, because we know that we can weaponize your anxiety.
We can radicalize you. Yeah.
We can radicalize you through that process. And it's not simply that they come through the front door and say, here's a political ideology, right? It is the ways that they begin to make you fearful. The purpose of propaganda and disinformation isn't simply to make you believe something. It's also intended to make you distrust everything. And in that environment where we have billionaires controlling the primary gateways through which we get information, not just Facebook, not just Twitter, but Washington Post, national publications that we used to at least feel some sense of, even if their coverage was incomplete, it was truthful. And now even that is eroding. So the terrifying thing to me is that the gatekeepers of information are increasingly in alignment to direct the most basic kind of information that we get. That said, muckraking journalism came out of that era.
Yeah.
Where the information we got, the newspapers that we had, were all controlled by oligarchs. And so I think we've got to begin to rely on that same spirit of muckraking journalism. And we also have to rely on that spirit of grassroots. I think Substack grows because people find trusted voices there. And we've got to build that at the very local level, especially in disasters where you turn on social media and you don't know whether the information you're getting has been generated by an agency that's trying to position the next mayor, the next mayoral race, instead of helping people who are in absolute dire straits at that moment.
Okay. So what we can be turned into, not just what happens to truth, but what happens to us.
Yes.
Yeah. I got it. That is scary. I'm there with you. Okay. Well,
who's our surprise guest?
We're going to get to that person in a second. We're doing a little replay of some, because we don't have Greg here to help with the media. Normally he does most of it, or if I do it, I have him helping me. But I found an oldie, I think, but a goodie, that I want to replay tonight, because there's a very special group of people. Although we're all devastated, horrible things are happening. There's doom and gloom around the corner, just 10 days away. It's fearful. It's all feels very high anxiety. There's a very special group of people who are getting exactly what they want. They're living their dream. And so here's a little homage to them. Look at our flag, isn't it neat? Wouldn't you say our sedition's complete? Wouldn't you say that we're cool with fans like a lawn and march? Look at our style, eye patch and slack. They took the culture, we're taking it back. We'll make America great, just ignore the felony charge. We've got Nazis and rapists aplenty. We've got terrorist traitors galore. Want fake electors? We've got 20. But who cares? No big deal. We want more. We want to be where the Democrats are. We want hot women and artists to like us. Yet somehow they know what's inside us is terribly wrong.
Being included was all we desired. Instead, we're left cursing our confused manhood. What would we give to have Springsteen sing us a song? Up where they're smart, where men have real chins, up where we don't have to cheat just to win. Oh, mommy, please. Wish we could be part of their world.
Oh, a little singing for tonight. Singing for tonight. Okay, let's get to our guest. He is an author, novelist, essayist of 2 incredible books in the last couple of years, Empress and Rough Beast. He's got something big coming up on his Prevail Substack and podcast, and he's here to talk to us about, and he's also the co-host of the 5-8. It's Greg Olear. Woo! I don't know why you had it up there. You're supposed to add down there, but
I don't
whatever.
know.
I don't know. Okay, I'm doing
It's just muscle memory that puts you in that corner.
Yeah.
I'm usually on the other side, though, so it's okay. It's okay.
Well, welcome to the show, Greg. You are traveling, but we wanted to have you on tonight because you have something big coming up and ready to drop, and we wanted to talk to you about it. So do you want to, we'll get to that. Can we get to that in a second? I'd love for you to tell us any thoughts that you had about the first 2 topics we were talking about, because I saw you there, and thank you for letting us go a little bit long before we got to you.
Oh, God, I don't know. It was great. You guys are doing great. It's fun to just watch the show and not have to talk. So there's a couple of things. Nadine, when you were talking about the AI, and now like they're creating more AI fake people to put on more content, because it's like, if there's one thing that we need on the internet, it's more content. There's just not enough content. We just need more content all the time. I love the song, LB.
I know you love that song.
So good. I love it so much.
I'll have to do another one for you soon. Yeah, but I couldn't resist. Those guys are, they're all so joyful. So let them have their moment, I guess.
That's fantastic. And yes, I am in a hotel room. I am in the Santistan, which is Florida, at the Coin Show, which is interesting because I do get to talk to people from different countries while I'm here. There's a guy from Belarus that I talked to, people from Hungary, people from Poland, and it's just interesting to see, and also people from Florida with the Trump hats and the gun catalogs and that kind of thing. So it's an interesting microcosm of stuff. But I because I've been very busy at the show, that's why I don't have time to prepare anything, So that's why I'm the guest. Because I don't have anything.
Well, also, we wanted to have you as a guest. We could have had another guest, but I wanted to have you as a guest because you have something coming up. I know you had a joke too.
Well, this is I'm in a bubble here. I'm not really online very much.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's happening. And today I read there was something called with Trump, and it was something called unconditional discharge. And I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if this was like his sentence or some sort of symptom of late stage syphilis. It was unclear. And I went on Facebook, and apparently it is the syphilis. So
it is? Okay, good.
Mark told me that Donald Trump has stage whatever it is, syphilis, and
has unconditional discharge. It's an actual diagnosis. We'll just call him that. I think we should just put his face and say unconditional discharge and have a lot of things going on a t-shirt.
And one more thing about that. One more thing, because I feel like there was a lot of like push and pull. I couldn't tell if people were like happy with Judge Merchan or pissed at him or both or whatever. And I'm kind of of 2 minds about it. But I want to say this, okay? As someone who is a resident of New York, the state of New York, The state of New York gave you 34 count conviction of Donald Trump, making him a convicted felon. The state of New York is poised to take away $400 million of his assets. So until your state, and Mershon is a state judge, he's not a federal judge. Federal government hasn't done jack shit so far
Nadine.
in terms of results. Okay. So until your state achieves convictions and money seizure, shut the fuck up and leave Judge Mershon, our judge, alone. That's my point.
I'm into it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I as a New Yorker, I support that. I support that sentiment. Okay. So I'm going to get into what happened with you this week. We know you're at the Coin Show. You know you're checked out. We know how you feel. Like you, because you're a sentient human being with a heart. So you feel horrible, I know, about everything that's been going on in California. And you had an interview.
I did.
Next week. So this is the first time you've ever teased an interview. Who did you talk to?
I talked to Christopher Steele, who, as you know, I read his book, which came out in October, called Unredacted, and it was such a good book. I just, in addition to just filling in the record of who he was, what he was doing, what he saw, what he did, how he worked with the FBI, all of the stuff, it's all in there. And you get reminded of all these things that happened. Because, we've been on this for a long time now. We've been on this for 8 years.
Yeah.
And, really on it. He's been on it for a lot longer as his job, because he's the head of station for Moscow, which he's not allowed to say, by the way. British law prevents you from saying if you work for MI6, so he can't say it. He can hint around at it. It's very funny. So I was blessed to have him come on Prevail and interview him. And that's coming out not this Friday, but it is Friday. A week from today, it's going to come out.
A week from today. What was your impression of him? I'm just curious. What was he like?
First of all,
voice,
really
everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, he has gravitas, I would say.
Okay.
He's serious, I think, and he's not somebody that you would ever look at or talk to for more than 5 minutes and be like, this guy's just making stuff up or whatever. They're trying to, how they do. They try to lie and create these false narratives about people, and they can't do it with him because, first of all, his bona fides are what they are, and he mentions that in the interview, they are what they are. But also, you talk to him, he's clearly not full of shit. He's not one of these, whatever. Republicans.
He's not like a media kind of guy either.
Yeah,
he's not media trained.
He's not remember in Avenatti, just as we're reliving.
Oh yeah.
Avenatti was on TV all the time, and it was and you kind of got the sense I liked things he was saying, but you got the sense that there was something very narcissistic-y about that guy. And Chris Steele isn't like that.
Turned out to be true.
Well, sure.
Right?
Well, what was his impression of the Steele dossier? I'm curious. What did he think of it?
What did Chris Steele think of it?
What did Chris Steele think of the Steele dossier?
Well, I mean, he wasn't, happy about it being released because it wasn't intended. Not only, and he talks about this in the things I ask him about it, because as a writer, I'm sensitive to this. This is I thought analogous to some horrible rough draft or some email that I wrote or notes that I took for something.
Nightmare.
And then suddenly someone's publishing them.
Oh, it's a nightmare. It's literally a recurring nightmare.
All of my work, my entire career is going to be based on this piece of paper that has unconditional discharge written on it, right? So and so he's up to that. But he told me that not only is it not intended to be public, it wasn't intended even to be a written thing. It was mostly notes for him to give an oral presentation when he would fill in stuff and do kind of the footnotes that you would normally read in one of these things. So it wasn't even that. So it was really
just his outline. It was his speaking
it was an
outline.
It was something that he was, and there's a lot more to it.
Wow.
And it was, it was great. For me, I was really, this was a very busy week getting ready to leave and the Coin Show and everything. And it was, I think I talked to you right after. It was really good. It was good stuff. I wasn't sure if it was going to work out and everything, and it did. And I think everyone's going to like it a lot. I think people are going to be, going to learn from it. And also the other piece about him is that, like, reading the book, especially, he's been right about everything, like everything, like the shit about Putin. He's been screaming about this guy for years and years. Like he was talking to people in the British government about how Putin is an asshole and we shouldn't trust him. He didn't say asshole, but isn't trustworthy. We shouldn't trust him. After he invaded Georgia, that was even before Crimea. This is like in 08 or 09.
08, yeah.
Yeah. And since then, and he's been right. So when he specifically talks about, hey, what's going to happen down the line now, that has, for me, much more weight than almost anyone else alive talking about it. So we talk about that too on the thing next Friday.
Awesome.
There.
Nadine, did you have a question?
Well, I'm just wondering, as somebody who was raising an alarm bell for all of this time, has been telling us, and as you said, not Nostradamus, or maybe Cassandra is a better analogy, because we haven't heeded any of this. Does he have a take on this past election?
Yeah, that is bad.
Gave you some surprising insights.
It's bad. The election is bad. I mean, the one thing he said, and actually this part he said on Arthur's podcast, the Arthur Snell's podcast, which is also excellent. He was talking about, Chris Steele was talking about how, that we're all afraid, obviously, that we're going to become a dictatorship and democracy is going to die and all that. And we're right to fear this. This is a real fear, which he says, but it takes time to do that. It takes time. It took Putin time in a country in which there was always tumult. There was always autocrats. There was always fear and terror and all this bad stuff. Even there in Russia, it took 8-9 years before he really got real power. So even when he tries to, grasp power and consolidate and all this stuff, it's not going to happen overnight. We're going to have time a little bit to fight back.
But he's been in our faces for 8 years and exercising levers of power for 8 years. So I'm a little nervous.
I saw an article that said how Hitler dismantled Germany in 53 days.
I saw that too, using democracy. He used democracy to
I know that everybody who's listening right now, though, wants to know is, does he talk about the blackmail tapes? Does he talk about the blackmail part of it in your interview?
You mean
that airs a week from today?
It airs a week from today. You mean the compromise, the hotel?
Yeah, the compromise. Yes, the hotel.
Yeah, he does, because that was he does talk about it. I'll leave it at that. He talks about it, and it's interesting because it's also, you get a sense of the process, like what he was trying to do, and in compiling the dossier, which isn't a dossier, it's a series of whatever, and then also trying to get the information to the FBI. Like, one of the things, and I told him that the Trump people, the MAGA people, are constantly trying to be like, well, the Steele dossier started Crossfire Hurricane in the investigation, right? That's one of their big talking points. And so that's not true. It was the guy from Australia, Papadopoulos, got drunk and spilled the beans. Papadopoulos, by the way, who was talking to a spy within 20 minutes of being named to the Trump. I mean, broke the record for being it was astonishing how fast this was.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's almost as if that was an easy identifiable weak spot.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Let's get the moron.
It also makes you wonder what filming has gone on in Trump hotels.
Well, that's that's a thing that he does.
On that note, I can't not ask you this question, and I think you can just give a yes or no, because I don't want to hijack. Yeah. I want everyone to listen to the interview. Mm-hmm. But because I am who I am and I did the work that I did you ask him about Mogilevich?
I did, but after. So I think he's still alive, but kind of not in great shape, I think.
Okay.
Physically.
All right.
think is the scuttlebutt on that.
Okay.
Not a name that you hear in the. Oh wait.
No, not a name you hear a lot, but I think our audience, some of our folks will know who I'm talking about. This was the mafia boss who put Putin into power, and also Donald didn't deny it. Laundered his money. So
yeah, and he was Robert Maxwell. There's all this. There's a lot of men in the
former
middle.
business partner to Robert Maxwell.
I know what I wanted to say before about Papadopoulos. We got sidetracked.
Papadapa ding dong. Okay,
that was the impetus for Crossfire Hurricane in real life. That's actually what happened, and we all know this. It's indisputable. Although MAGA will yammer about it. But my point is, even if the FBI opened the investigation because of the Steele dossier, which said that Trump was communicating with Russians, great. So fucking what? This is the guy who headed the Moscow desk for MI6 and worked with the FBI for years and years and years. Hair on fire, insofar as he's not really a hair on fire type of person.
But if that's coming from this source, then
not only
maybe it's important to pay attention to it.
Yes, even if it did spark
John McCain did. Yeah,
good. That's what we want to have happen. We don't want the FBI to be like, oh, really? I don't know. Which is, by the way, what they did. They just kind of sat on it. They sat on it.
And I think the reason this interview is important, and I'm glad you did it, and I can't wait to listen to it, is it's you don't just stop working for those people. Yeah. Right. So this was the, coming from the Moscow bureau chief, right? As close as you can get in the intelligence community. And we had real evidence, tremendous amounts of real evidence that Donald was compromised by Russian mafia, by Putin, and also was working with them and had connections and workings with the Kremlin since all the way back with that first wife. Right. So with that, it's important to just not only not memory hole that, but not dismiss it as, okay, we didn't see any justice result to this, so therefore we don't have to pay attention to that. He's still on the hook with these people, and Russia interfered in our election, this past election, calling in bomb threats into polling stations, evacuating those polling stations, and those stations are where the votes were all, we're in swing states. So
and that's only what we know about. Yeah,
and that's only what we know. That's only what we know.
They're like tenant media giving money to these fuckers who go on and say all this bad shit about Biden and Kamala. That's interference.
That's interference.
They're not allowed to do that. It's
all of this garbage in the discourse that Nadine was talking about, and the danger of all that. We know that at least a portion of that was paid for by the Kremlin. It's indisputed. So it's important to keep this going, and not that we sound like, oh God, we're still hanging on the Steele dossier. It's like, no, this is the actual facts that happened. This is the historical record. It is ongoing, and we need to pay attention to it because it's not over in Europe. This guy's still trying to take Ukraine. He still has his sights on Poland. And, we're about to pull out of NATO. If anyone thinks that Donald Trump isn't going to pull us out of NATO, well, we're going to get to that in a little bit. We're going to play a little game towards the end and get to all of these things. Is there anything else you want to say about that? I know that you can stay with us for the rest of the show. So letting everybody know you're going to stick around for the next two topics. But anything else that you want to say or share about?
This is my stuff, not his. I was very happy with how I was so thrilled that he came on, and I want to thank him for coming on, here. Yeah. And I thanked him also for what he did for us, us meaning Americans who give a shit about democracy and rule of law. So, that stuff is important. But to your point, like Junior met with a fucking lawyer for Putin in Trump Tower with Kushner and Manafort. Manafort ran the fucking campaign. Like that happened. It was in the fucking New York Times. Don Jr. tweeted about it and confirmed it. Jared Kushner wanted to establish a back channel through the Russian embassy
to the Kremlin.
He brought Kislyak and Lavrov into the Oval Office and gave them intelligence that led to people die.
And we now know, and it was just confirmed this week, that the Kremlin did pay for the bounties on U.S. soldiers.
That's right.
So
Not that anybody cares.
not that anyone cares
all-
anymore. That the Putin had, while Donald Trump is kissing his ass as president, even in Helsinki, that man had bounties, and that information got to the president and got to everybody else, and he was like, I don't know if I believe that, and it's now confirmed. So it is true. There were bounties.
Yeah, there are bounties. I guess what, for the Russian military, all 6 of them that are left alive. Oh, oops, sorry.
Well, bounties on our soldiers' head. I think the reason why there was such a push to question that reporting and question that intelligence and fuck it all up is one thing you can't do with families of military is say, yeah, I'm in league with the guy that put a bounty on your kid's head while they're over there fighting.
Yeah.
Or serving. Yeah.
But in the tornado of disinformation, again,
Yeah.
it isn't simply to make us believe a thing. It's to make us disbelieve everything else.
Yeah.
Everything is credible and nothing's believable in that propaganda storm. So it really is important for us to keep this litany of things. You know, one of the things they talk about in as fascism begins to rise is do not allow the normalization of things that ought to be outrageous. And so I think it's healthy for us to run through these things, not because we think immediately people will wake up, but because it's important to not lose our way. So we say them out loud.
Well said, Nadine. Well said.
In short, what you're saying is what we need to do is gird our loins.
Gird our loins.
Gird our
Absolutely.
loins. I was like,
there
oh,
should be a
this
drinking
one has
game
something.
called Gird Your Loins.
Gird your loins. What's it?
Did you know that story?
What is that?
Yeah, tell us what you're drinking, Nadine.
All right. I think I told you that I was going to go get a fancy cocktail
You
glass
did in honor of Greg, and
in honor
instead,
of Greg. But the
mason
North
jar
Florida
one.
Southerner in me just ended up with a mason jar.
I love it so much.
And then having the week that we were having, I didn't trust myself to hit any of the hard stuff. So I'm having a functional beverage for modern rituals called Kin Euphoric. Not a paid product placement, but you know, it has vitamin C and saffron and turmeric. But it gives me the sense of being fancy and having a nice little mocktail.
Oh, I might have to get that. I love all those things in there. I am having the cheap, yet delicious diet polar orange soda. I'm digging it. What are you having, Greg?
Pabst Blue Ribbon. Greg, what do you?
This is Makers on the Rocks, is what this is.
Yes, Greg.
Nice.
Coming
Way to
through
come
with
through
the
for
hard
us.
stuff. Yeah, this is like because he doesn't have to host the show, and I'm dealing with the timers and everything. All right, guys, let's move on to our next topic, if you don't mind. I'm going to put 8 minutes on the clock. Thank you for all of that, Greg. I cannot wait to hear that interview.
It is,
and I know everybody
really
else
good.
is going to be
Good. I
loving
think I think it's good. People are going to like it.
Okay, awesome. Good for you. I'm so proud. So proud. Okay, 8 minutes on the clock. Over and out. So this is Joe Biden's last week, really. I mean, it's what, 10 days or so. We'll be back on the air next Friday, but the Monday, a week from Monday's inauguration. So I just wanted to sort of look at, and we'll do some legacy stuff next week, but just look at Biden's last few days in office, like what has happened. So we have this huge disaster in California. Boom, he's right in there, right? That we know that the federal government is going to take care and has committed that the federal government is going to take care because of President Biden, because he came in and committed this, all of the debris clearance, all of the cleanup. Oh my God, that is just the cost of that. And it is needed. A federal effort is needed for that. It's just the scope of the devastation, the size of the area is just, it's vast. And how many structures. So absolutely need that federal cleanup. Thank God Biden's in office still when this horrible thing has to happen. If there's any silver lining, thank God Biden's in place to make sure that goes down. He's also stopped oil and gas drilling in certain areas and signed some stuff for that. That happened this past week. And protecting our parks. So they're continuing to do that kind of protection. He had a jobs report come out. Nadine, you were going to look at some of those numbers. Did you see what did he end up with?
Yeah, the numbers were First of all, the jobs report was stronger than anyone had anticipated. 16.6 million jobs. When he took office, unemployment was at 6.4%. He's dropped it to 4.1%. At a time of global inflation, navigated in the wake of COVID, has navigated it better than any other nation. And so, it's sort of like, as you're saying, thank God he was in office as this catastrophe hits California. I know we're going to talk just a little bit about the President Carter's funeral, but every note that he struck in his speech about character, about calling to a basic decency in people, it really is sort of a triptych of all of the things that Biden has, all of his strengths, and to punctuate it with a jobs report that also shows wage growth at nearly 4%. So couldn't really have been a stronger report to sort of put an exclamation point at the end of his term, but also to just expose again how that tornado of disinformation about the economy that really did, the fear and anxiety that was stoked was divorced from the facts. And nobody thinks that eggs are going to be cheaper because Trump wants to rename the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, that we just sort of moved on from the eggs. Yeah. I think it was more about Kamala's gender. Anyways.
The jobs report was even better, the unemployment report, because if you eliminate, like, if you take Facebook fact checkers out of the unemployed, it's basically full employment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the Carter funeral a little bit in this, because that's another sort of, I don't know, it felt like a lot of things ended this last week, like a lot of ending. I wouldn't call it closure. I just feel like it's ending. What did you guys think of the funeral? Did you watch it, Greg? Were you able to watch any of it?
No, I didn't. I saw little, I saw Kamala not look at Trump, and I saw Obama kind of be like, I'm going to sit here so no one else can. And then I guess the Carter Center released a photo that somebody had taken where they were behind. So Trump was behind the pillar, and you couldn't see him, but you could see everybody else, which was awesome. But I didn't read it. I didn't know. That's something I missed.
I mean, there were all those dynamics. Karen Pence refused to acknowledge Donald and Melania, who was dressed as some kind of scary pilgrim. I did not understand her. And she looked miserable. I was reminded of that. I think there was a quote, I got to find it, where Ivanka called her the meth head wife or whatever. Ivanka was mean about her, and in terms of Melania, in terms of, kids are like that though with step parents. I don't know. Something was going on with her. And then I did like Hillary's, response to Biden's speech when he came and he sat down and she was going, there's something kind of glorious about Hillary Clinton lately in the last,
16 years.
Yeah. Something pretty great about her. But what was, it was important that the president, whoever the president may be, spoke at that funeral and acknowledged Jimmy Carter. And he is a hero in our house, and always has been. We're pacifists, and we're, I'm the daughter of a pastor. And it's like, this is, he was a man of peace. He was a man of great character, as President Biden said. And he did a lot. I think there's a little echo there for Biden, and not just a one-term Democrat or something, but it's like these men that just accomplished a tremendous amount. And the opposing parties' garbage machine of reframing truth and reality, it just clouds everybody's ability to assess how wonderful these presidencies were and these men were. So it takes what, all these years later, 40, 50 years later, and then there's some sobering up. It's a little too late. Yeah. What do you think, Nadine?
Well, you know, for me, it was hard. It was painful to watch because the tributes to President Carter were beautiful, from his family, from, you know, to see, I don't know, Andrew Young in front of a microphone, to see some of these voices, and what you couldn't, but you couldn't divorce it from the moment that we're in, right? So the fact that Trump doesn't put his hand over his heart, and some people are like, because there's no heart to put his hand over, but his awkwardness and his discomfort as people talked again and again about character, about a basic kind of decency, about caring about each other, about putting principles above profit, and every message carried with it both the tribute to Carter, but also the context of Trump sitting there. And so I think we're all in this sort of strange place where we're slow motion, the slow motion coup that is unfolding in front of us, this ugly moment where we are about to be plunged into not just 4 more years, but 4 years of somebody where the final restraints have been stripped away. And so it was hard to try to compartmentalize and just pay, you know, homage to this late president who's known as much for what he did at office after he left, and the decency and you know, Habitat for Humanity, all of these things. So yeah, I think it was a perfect juxtaposition of where we are, some hope, clinging to these ideas and this decency, but also, you know, the rancid smell of what's coming.
Yeah.
With us as well.
His ugliness hijacks everything, even sacred moments of grief inside a cathedral are hijacked by that one individual's ugliness. That's how strong that all is. I would call it evil, and then I would get criticized, but whatever. It's evil. Sorry. I'm sorry.
He shits on what is holy, as you said before.
Yeah, he shits on all that's holy. All right. Thanks, guys. This is our time for announcements, as you all know. So I know we've got the interview coming up. That's our big announcement for you, Greg. Any other announcements that you might have to share?
I have no other announcements, unless, you know, people want to come to the coin show in Orlando.
I have a little bit of an announcement, and it's all indicates this, and if it changes, we'll let you know. But we'll probably going to be together for Martin Luther King Day. We're not going to call it the other day, and possibly might have a live show. So look for that. And Nadine, you're welcome to come on. It's going to be more of a forum. It's not going to be our standard 5/8 format, but you know, we want everybody to come. And then if anybody wants to come on air and just share a little bit, which is just going to be more of a salon with us, just, you know, vibing it out and being there for one another and counter programming the awfulness.
It's going to be not at night also.
And not at night. It'll be during the day. It'll be counter programming. So we're going to try to do a counter programming show. The only thing that might stop us is weather. Hopefully we have, because I have to travel. So hopefully we have great weather and we can be together. Okay. All right. So that is my announcement. Nadine, do you have anything to announce?
Well, let's see. You know, hang out on Blue Sky with us. I know a lot of people are fleeing Twix and Zuckerbook right now, and Blue Sky has been a nice place to hang out. So you can find all of us there.
Yeah.
And on Substack, come by and say hi. Nadine Smith, Wide Awake America, and I'm going to be putting out an interview with Professor Noliwe Rooks about the. She's a scholar and expert on Mary McLeod Bethune. And if you do not know that name, you very much want to listen to this interview, because not only is she a powerhouse of the civil rights movement and an unsung hero, but she has some wisdom that we're going to need right now and over the next 4 years. And Professor Rooks she's just, you know, it's great to talk to really smart people, but it's also great to talk to really smart people with a big heart who know how to take lessons from the past and make them useful to us in the future.
Oh my God, I can't wait. When is that interview dropping?
It's going to drop over the weekend. So,
okay.
You know, you can subscribe for free to the Substack and you get a notice when it drops. And somebody very nice, true player, has dropped the Substack in
Yes,
the
always.
chat. So thank you.
There it is. God, love our true player. The best. All right. So Nadine Smith, substack.com. All right,
Yep.
Nadine, I'm going to read it. I can't wait and listen.
All right.
All right. So we're starting something different. Greg, you do the technology on this. Will we be able, when you put the graphic up, will we be able to hear our voices?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to play a game, and the game is called Truth or Troll.
Troll.
All right. So I am going to bring up some things that are going on, things that are being said, things that are being contemplated. Oh, that's wrong. There we go. I like this all three there. That's great. And
Okay.
you guys are going to have to tell me whether or not it's a truth or a troll. Truth or
All right. Let me
troll.
just practice real quick.
All right.
Okay.
You got your
I'm
truth,
ready.
you got your troll.
I'm
Where's your
ready.
sign? I've got my sign if you have one for me. Truth, and then here's my
All right,
troll.
we have to go to this so we can actually see. Okay.
There we go. I have to see. All right, here we go. All right. Like all proper fascists have done, Donald Sr. wants to expand America's map. They want land. They love it. So even if by military force, aka war and invasion. So the things that he's looking to grab for us, or that he's saying he's going to take Greenland, Canada, and the Panama Canal. All right. What's your opinion? Is this a truth or a troll? Truth, Nadine.
Yeah.
Wait. Truth, Greg. Okay.
No.
Oh, no, it's half and
Canada
half.
is
Yeah,
troll.
no, I would have done that if I could, because I think
Canada is troll. The rest of it is truth.
I think it's a truth and a troll. I
Yeah.
do have that down. Yeah.
his desires to go after Greenland and probably the Panama Canal are true. Canada, he's trolling. And I think that part of Greenland is all about, I mean, you cannot ignore how much the tech bros are also crypto and AI. And what both of those things require is massive amounts of energy. So when they look at Greenland, what they see is a place with untapped minerals and hydropower and all sorts of resources that can feed that insatiable beast, that is energy beast, that is crypto and AI. And so I think they're being very truthful. He's being very truthful about his desires for that. I think Canada, 51st state, is trolling, and we should take him quite seriously about the Panama Canal.
Yeah, Greg, I have my own thing about this, but go ahead. What do you think?
I mean, do we talk about the Panama Canal, the origins of the Panama Canal before? Because I can't remember on the show. I'm going to go over real quick. The way that we did that, the way that the United States created the Panama Canal, is that we wanted to do it, and Colombia, which owned Panama at the time, this is like 02, 03, 1902, 03, somewhere in there, during the first Roosevelt presidency, they were like, no, you can't do it. So we fomented a revolution in Panama and created this new country of Panama. And then we negotiated with Panama that, what do you know, they let us build this canal.
Yeah.
So that is a template for what I think that the coding here is we're going to do what we did 100 and whatever years ago in Panama in Greenland. I think that's the
probably. Here's the thing that to remember about Greenland, because remember he talked about Greenland the first time and everybody laughed, and the prime minister or whatever of Greenland was like making jokes. But it was Tom Cotton who gave him that idea. And now it has been confirmed, there's reporting and has confirmed, that the person who gave Tom Cotton that sort of like, here's the blueprint and the talking points of why America should go after Greenland was, guess who, everybody? Guess who? Was a Russian intelligence, the guy that is like the intelligence agent. Okay, so here's some things to know. Canada has territorial rights to oil and gas reserves and maritime routes, something Putin wants demolished. Okay? So they control a lot of the area touching on the Arctic that this guy wants. I think Canada is a troll, but I think it's a troll with an aim, because I'm saying, okay, all right, you say we can't give, Canada's not ours, so I can't take it, but Alaska's ours, I can give it. I think there's something going on here. I think we're going to see shit go down with Trump in Alaska. I really do. Panama has sanctions against Russian vessels, and Putin wants those lifted. So, again, why it's so important to keep remembering that the Kremlin owns this man and always has. Okay. And Greenland has a major NATO support facility to protect European countries from Russian invasion. So if we're getting rid of NATO, Putin doesn't like the stuff going on in Greenland and that he can't just run ramshot around there. He's wanted those maritime routes as well. It's very strategically important to him to be able, Greenland's sort of in this position, right? And the Arctic stuff is there as well. It says Greenland, but think ice. That's the way I always remember Greenland. So I thought, okay, it's a truth and a troll. So we'll call it a trollop because he's just a whore. Okay. Next one. All right. Truth or troll? Just Doge. Just Doge. Elon now says he doubts that he can get trillions out of the thing. So was Doge, is it a truth or has it been a troll all along?
See, these are tricky.
Oh, no, they're tricky. I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
Troll.
Because again, not to beat a single drum, but it is not an accident that the department is DOGE and the cryptocurrency is DOGE, and that the incoming cabinet is made up of people who are driven to get Bitcoin named as Federal Reserve currency. They wanted to get the SEC chairman out, and so it is a troll in the sense that it's a truth in the sense that was intended to plant the flag that says that the crypto brosphere is now in control of the store. Whether or not it functions in a way that is, I mean, first of all, you'd have to believe that their intention was to get rid of government waste when we always know that it's intended to redirect public funds into the private sector. Yes. And so it is a troll in the sense that they never intended to reduce government waste. It was always a doge dodge.
A doji dodge. Okay, Nadine. All right. Next one.
Well, we forgot to say what Doge stood for, which is dumb overlords grifting.
Oh, good, you found it.
Yeah, we're going to keep reminding everybody of this.
Did we say dumb? Didn't we have something dumb? Yeah. We had another one of that we liked.
Yes.
That was
a techno grift, as Ellen says in the comments. A tech bro grift.
Tech bro grift. All
Doge
right.
was in charge of Venice, and a real Doge coin is a Venetian grosso. Not to get
we're doing the coins. But, yeah. I'm glad.
It's actually worth something.
I'm glad there's a coin connection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So the roundup of illegal and legal immigrants, this planned around, there's a pronouncement and all of that stuff. Is that a truth or has it been a troll?
Yeah, I gotta do this.
I gotta do this. You're gonna do both with that?
I am. I will tell you why.
All right, let's hear it.
Here, 2 out of 3 of us are in Florida right now, and Florida has passed draconian anti-immigrant laws, and we have this governor who used Florida money to fly, people crossing the border in Texas to the Martha's Vineyard, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All of these anti-immigrant stunts. But the moment they passed it, what did they do? They went and met with workers and said, listen, that's all just for show. They even had Republican sheriffs saying, we're not really going to enforce that. What they want is not to get rid of these workers on which our economy and our entire food industry relies. They want to leave them in a state of such precarity that they cannot organize, they can't ask for better wages, they can't ask for health care. Mm-hmm. And basically, this is what the fight between Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and all those guys about the visas, mm-hmm. because they want the same thing, but they want the high-tech equivalent of tomato pickers. They want people who cannot organize, would be terrified of standing up to anything that they ask of them and
have no rights.
And have no rights. And if they lose their job, their whole family is going to be deported. So the intention is to have a really big hammer poised and cocked, but to say, don't worry about it, not you. And just don't ever organize. It's about union busting and it's about exploiting.
I think you're right. I'm going with you.
Did they really do that in Florida? Because what I'm told, when I couldn't check into my fucking hotel at 2:00 in the afternoon because I was early, is that they couldn't hire enough people here to clean the rooms fast enough to get me to come in at 2:00. Like there's a shortage of workers here.
People left. I mean, this is why they had press conferences with Republican sheriffs going, we're not really going to prioritize any of that. But people left. People who are here legally left because maybe they had relatives.
Because they were scared.
Who were still going through a process. And so they're like, I'm not going to bring this kind of heat onto my whole family, so I'll go elsewhere. But we've seen this before. And in fact, I saw an interview where a dairy farmer who voted for Trump was being asked, do you think he's really going to, deport people? And he said, our entire food system was shut down in 2 days. He's not going to really do that. That's just bluster. But what he really means is, I like him threatening the folks who rely on me for their paycheck because that will make them docile and compliant.
God.
The thing that really worries me about it is how high it polled. It was more than 50% of Americans want mass deportations.
Oh, God.
Which to me is the single most pressing statistic that I've read all year. Well,
it's disgusting.
Last year. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. So I would love a little non-truth on that one. It's like, it is too much to take in. Okay. Sam Alito, we know, was calling Donald Trump. They're on the phone. They're talking. And Sam Alito has to say, well, he was calling. Trump has been calling. And this is right before he was trying to get the Supreme Court ruling on whether or not they were going to throw out the sentencing, right? His ability to be sentenced, right? Which is what happened this morning, even though it didn't really happen. And Sam Alito said, I think it was Sam Alito said, oh, he was trying to hire somebody who was looking to hire someone as a lawyer who was one of my law clerks, apparently 15 years ago. And so he was just calling we were talking about this future employee. Truth or troll?
Wait, he was, okay.
Troll. Nadine? No.
No, yeah. No,
this is not a both. That was a bunch of bullshit. All right. Here we go.
One real quick.
And Alito trolls it because nobody calls him on that. And it's like they get to laugh about it. They get pleasure out of just controlling, the narrative and the media. Yeah, Greg, one of the things.
I'm worried about the fact that Roberts and Coney Barrett both voted that Trump was allowed to get sentenced because, as we know, they only have the quota of things. It's like fouling out in a basketball game. This is the equivalent of they have 2 quick fouls in the first quarter. Like we might be in trouble. We might need them to vote something normal down the line, and they've already expended the foul. So I'm a little worried.
They've met their quota of integrity. Sorry, everybody. All right. Last one that I have. I mean, I have another one, but I'm going to stop here.
Why?
I'm going to stop here. Oh, you're enjoying the game? Because you might have one. All right, here it is. Mark Zuckerberg is a real life human being with a mother. Truth or troll?
There's no evidence. I looked
no
up
evidence.
To see if we could fact check that, and there's no evidence.
I wish we could fact check it, but we can't. So I'm just going with my gut and saying that is not a real human being.
We'll never know.
I do want to say, though, he's the CEO, bitch. So, he's got that.
He's got that.
It's the same guy. Like I keep thinking of the end of Social Network where he's just sitting there hitting refresh over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And that's it. When he's in hell, that will be hell for him, except there will be no Beatles song because Satan can't afford the rights. So.
Oh, God. Okay. God help us. I hope you enjoyed our game. Did you like our game? Nadine thinks we have to have that as a regular.
I think you should sell them. The 5-8 Truth or Troll.
Oh, that's a great
idea. Play at home.
Truth or Troll.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Play at home. Truth or Troll. All right.
All right. You have to see.
We got to get on.
Give the people what they want.
Yeah, we'll get on top of our spread shop. What is it called? Is it spread shop?
You think your sweatshop? What do you
No, it's spread.
Sweatshop.
It's some kind of merch. It's our merchandise, but it's not a sweatshop. I promise.
I was thinking about that. I want to add some things. I want to make some graphical things and add some stuff.
Okay.
I'm going to do that. That's one of my resolutions for the new year.
Well, I think it has to be a drinking game, Greg.
Okay.
Just to keep the theme going.
Okay.
Yeah.
She said as she took a sip of her drink that has no alcohol in it.
I've heard
Okay.
non-alcoholic, but makes me feel fancy turmeric drink. Yeah, I'm gonna take my cheap ass $1 bottle soda.
Listen, it's called euphorics. It is mood altering without alcohol.
Mood altering without alcohol. I got
But
you.
no
Me and
THC.
Tom
There's no
Holland.
THC in there. There's no. It's not like one of the.
Oh, you
weed
know
drinks.
what? Is there CBD? Maybe there might be some CBD.
I think we
in
have
this.
to call them up and see if they will sponsor our show.
There we go.
Yeah, we got to get some sponsors going on. All right, everybody. Well, I so enjoyed having you as a co-host, Nadine. I hope you enjoyed your time with us
I
tonight.
had a great time. I
Yeah.
had a great time. Thanks for tapping me in.
Yeah,
Tapping
tap
me
me
in.
in. I wish we lived closer, but we don't. But we'll see each other again, I hope, in person soon. That would be
We will.
wonderful. And Greg Oliart, remind everybody when your Chris Steele interview is coming out.
It's coming out on Friday, 1 week from this very day. It will drop.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they can, if they're not subscribed to Prevail, we want everyone to go ahead and subscribe to the Prevail so it comes into your newsletter. You don't have to pay for it. You just sign up. So the same thing with Nadine's Substack, and also listening to her Wide Awake America. I cannot wait to listen to your interview. Thank you for letting us know about that. And I'm just, I'm here trying not to cry and thinking, I don't know, guys. I need a little help this week to believe this, but I just, deep down, there's no other choice. We're just gonna get through it.
Here.